If I could say one thing about having strict parents, is that shit doesn't work. The more rules that your parents have, the sneakier that child becomes. And I only know this because that was me. I was that kid until the day I wasn't. One night when I was 16 years old, I could have been more excited for my parents to go out for dinner. But this night did not turn out the way that I thought. As I'm trying to push my parents out the door, my mom hits me with this. She goes, okay, you had your dinner, so go on your 5K run, burn off what you just had, definitely no snacks, we don't need you to get any bigger. Homework, finish, and straight to sleep. It's called beauty sleep for a reason, and you definitely need it. Now, looking back, I realized how fucked up this was, but I was a little bit of a chubbier kid, okay? I go, yes, mom, I know the rules. Get out. Because I had myself a perfect night planned of my secret stash of junk food and watching movies all night. But my dad had another trick up his sleeve. He goes, oh, Jackie, forgot to tell you, Mrs. Huang will actually be taking care of you tonight. Okay, and in walks in this old-ass Chinese woman who has been babysitting me since I was literally a baby. I was confused as hell, right? Because I'm 16. Why do I need a babysitter? And I said it exactly like that to my parents. But that was the worst mistake I could have made. Because my mom and dad are looking at me with daggers in their eyes, but Mrs. Huang is the one who does the damage. Okay, because she takes her old wrinkly-ass hand and smacks me across the face and goes, Jacqueline, you know better than to talk back to your parents. Girl, I was so flabbergasted, okay? I don't even say goodbye to my parents. I don't say a word to Mrs. Huang and run upstairs. My plan of watching movies all night wasn't gonna cut it anymore. I was so tired of being treated like a child that I did something that I never thought I would do. I run straight under to my bed, grab my second phone I hid from my parents, and open up Snapchat, right? Go into those maps, and I see a group of people from my high school all at this one house. So I text up Melissa, my best friend, and I go, girl, is there a party tonight? She goes, yeah, but are you actually gonna come? You're not allowed out the house after 6 p.m. I go, tonight's different. See you soon. I was shaking with adrenaline because I've never done shit like this before, and this was also my first party. Right, so I go on my run, I do my homework, and I start phase 2 of my plan. And let me tell you, this shit was diabolical. So I snuck downstairs from my room, took a little peek at Mrs. Huang in the living room, who was zombied watching K-dramas, right? So I go, hey, Mrs. Huang, I'm just about to get ready for bed now. Would you like a cup of tea? She goes, yes, thank you so much, sweetie. Right, so I go into that kitchen and pull out my plan out of my back pocket. A 10 milligram melatonin. If you've never had that shit before, I'll knock you out like a light. Right, so I pour her up her chamomile, crush that melatonin, sprinkle it in, and hand it straight to her, waiting. 15 minutes later, Mrs. Huang was out like a light. And I was out of that front door going to my first ever party. Okay, I never believed this shit could have been this easy. For now. Because after my crazy night at my first ever high school house party, which is a story for another day, I end up back home at 12 a.m. And I won't lie to you, I was nervous, I was shaking, I smelled like vape juice, alcohol, and sweat, right? But thus far, I got away with this shit. No, where are you? Text, no phone calls. So I thought if I walked straight through that front door, everything would be fine. That was further from the truth, okay? Because I checked my back pocket. No key. Right, I tried to jiggle the door just in case, but that shit's locked. Right, I start panicking, so I start circling around the house until I see my only way in. Up the trellis, climbing up to my bedroom window. Now, mind you, I was a little bit overweight at this point in my life, okay? So climbing up the shit was harder than I thought, but once I got to the top, panting, sweating, dry heaving, I had to pry that window open and hop myself through the window. But this is where everything changed, okay? Because I get my head through, my shoulder through, my waist through, But as soon as that shit hits my hips, panic. Okay, because they get stuck. I was going, oh no, trying to whisper, trying to stay calm, trying to push myself through. But girl, I was such a big back then. That shit wasn't happening without some butter and some soap. But as I tried to keep pushing through, even trying to go backwards, it was no use. I was so jammed in there. Circulation was cut off. There was no blood going through my arms, going through my legs. I was literally lying there limp. So the only thing I thought to do was by far the dumbest thing I could think of. So I started screaming at the top of my lungs, help, help, help. And of course, not even 5 seconds later, my bedroom door swings open, the lights turn on, and there is my mom and dad in their pajamas, looking like they're ready to end my life. My dad goes, Jacqueline, I thought you were sleeping. Mrs. Huang said you were such a good girl. I go, Dad, I know I'm really sorry, okay? I promise I won't ever do this again, but please, can you help me get out? I'm stuck, right? And my dad walked straight over, but it was no use. He grabs my shoulders, tried to squeeze me out one way, the other. I was so wedged in there that my mother just has to add, see, Jacqueline, if you weren't so big, this would have never happened. You could have probably pulled all of this off without us knowing if you were just a little bit tinier. Girl, I didn't even care, right? Tears are streaming down my face. I go, Dad, please just get me out. I'll be grounded for the rest of my life. I just can't stay here anymore. My dad goes, fine. If that's what you want. So my dad pulls out his phone, starts dialing 911, and not even 20 minutes later, the fire truck comes, sirens down the street with every single one of my neighbors out of their houses watching me. I never felt so humiliated in my life. Needless to say, I was grounded for the rest of my life after that day. But at least now, since I started using StartJune.com, if I ever needed to sneak out that window again, my big backness would never be a problem, okay? Because I could slip through a vent crack now, thanks to the healthcare professionals on there helping me get what I need to get the body that I have now.